Hello everyone, thank you for meeting with me today. Today I'm going to be doing a presentation on how we can incorporate teaching reading and writing into a Year 7 HPE class using a multimodal text on the food pyramid. This here is the text that I will be using as an example. This is a food pyramid outlining the different food types, how many servings of them you need a day, including water and other things like that. This directly relates to one of the content descriptors in the Australian curriculum, which includes planning and implementing strategies using health resources, such as the diagram provided, for the students to improve their own health or others around them. During the reading phase, we are going to be using the 3-phase approach, which includes pre-reading, while reading, and post-reading. The pre-reading phase is really used to introduce the topic, get the students interested and motivated to read about it, and help them understand why they are reading about it. The while reading phase helps the students understand the writer's purpose, understand the text, and clarify the content that they are actually taking in. The post-reading phase is a follow-up phase where they consolidate what they read, reflect on the reading, and integrate the other skills that they may have picked up about the content. For my pre-reading activity, I'm going to be using a KYL chart. The KYL chart stands for what I know, what I want to know, and what I learned. The what I know stage of it activates the students' prior knowledge and begins them to start thinking about the subject that they're going to be learning about. The what I want to know rouses the students' interest in the topic and gives the students a purpose to read. The what I learned happens at the end of the lesson. This is when they have a reflection on what they've read and they can celebrate any new information that they picked up on the way. The during reading phase is a guided reading and annotation. This supports the students while they actively interact with the text, promotes them actively reading. Guided reading ensures that the class stays engaged with the text and helps students identify the key information that they may want to recall at a later date. Structuring the reading into a read, think, and share allows for deeper comprehension of the content that the multimodal resource shows. The post-reading task that I've selected is a think, pair, share. The purpose of this is to reinforce the information that the text gives, and this is best done by working in groups. Think, pair, share is a strategy designed to foster students talking to one another. Students will work initially in pairs on the task, sharing information that they picked up throughout the reading, and then they'll share the results with the larger group in the class. This helps the students share information, fill gaps in their knowledge, and develop academic literacy when they're sharing their findings with each other. The formative assessment that I've selected to test student knowledge is a quiz, such as a Kahoot. Using a quiz at the end of the lesson as a form of formative assessment allows the students to test their knowledge and see what parts of the text they actually recalled. Some questions that the quiz may include is how many servings of fruit per day? What are discretionary foods? How many serves of vegetables per day? This is core information that was presented in the multimodal text that the students should be trying to recall. Once we complete the reading stage, the students will then go into the writing stage. The writing stage uses the learning cycle, which we would teach the students but also incorporate into our lessons itself. The learning cycle is broken down into 4 key areas. This includes building the field, modeling the text, joint construction, and then finally independent construction. Building the field involves activating the students' prior knowledge, revisiting key ideas included in the multimodal text, and mapping out the key vocab that the subject includes. Modeling the text is a teacher-driven aspect where the teacher models an informal paragraph and includes deconstructing it to identify the key text structure that the students should use. The teacher will also highlight the key writing style that the subject demands. In this case, in a HPE setting, it is a factual, instructional, and formal tone sort of writing. The joint construction stage of the learning cycle is a class co-constructs an informational paragraph. This is where the teacher and the class work together to create a paragraph as a reference for the students to use. The final stage, independent construction, is when the students independently write their own text on the topic. As previously mentioned, the purpose of building the field is to develop the students' content knowledge and disciplinary vocabulary before writing begins. The activity that I've selected to use is creating a class glossary of key terms and definitions of them that are used in the HPE class. The language focus is to explicitly teach and display key terms from the text. These include words like nutrients, servings, balanced diet, discretionary food, and carbohydrates. The teacher will also clarify the meanings and use the examples and definitions. The outcome of this is that the students understand the key terms and the intake recommendations and are actually able to understand how to incorporate them into their paragraph. At this stage, the students act as code breakers and text participants. Modeling of the text includes the stage where explicitly teaching students the structure and language features of an informal health paragraph. The activity I've decided to use is a mentor text deconstruction. This is where the teacher explicitly identifies the structure of the text, such as the topic sentence, factual language, technical vocabulary, where they've used evidence from the text, aka the food pyramid, and cohesive devices. In the joint construction phase, this involves the teacher and the students collaboratively working together to write an informal paragraph together. The teacher scaffolds sentence construction by prompting students to contribute vocabulary, evidence, and ideas that they've got from the food pyramid. This stage is highly effective because students receive guided support before moving on to independently write the paragraph of their own. Referencing Vygotsky's zone of proximal development, this explains that students learn most effectively when teachers scaffold learning through collaboration and guided interaction. Independent construction requires the students to independently write their own informal paragraph, explaining how teenagers maintain a balanced diet using evidence from the multimodal text. Students are expected to use disciplinary vocabulary accurately, structure ideas logically, include factual evidence, explain serving sizes, and balance meal proportions. This stage allows students to independently apply the literacy and numeracy skills developed throughout the sequence. Students operate as text analysts because they consider audience, purpose, and how health information influences lifestyle choices and behaviors. During this time, we will be looking to explicitly teach one literacy skill and one numeracy skill. For this one, I've chose to explicitly teach the subject-specific vocabulary. Referencing the 4 resources model, this literacy skill develops students as code breakers as they decode unfamiliar health terminology, and text participants as they link vocabulary to prior knowledge from the reading sequence. Students need to understand key terms such as nutrients, servings, balanced diets, discretionary food, and food groups. To explicitly teach the subject-specific vocabulary, I've chosen to use the gradual release of responsibility. This is broken into 3 key stages. I do, the teacher, we do, the teacher and the class, and then you do, the students by themselves. In the I do stage, the teacher will model where discretionary foods appear on the pyramid, why they are limited in a balanced diet, and how the term is used in a health sentence. In the we do stage, students and the teacher collaboratively work together to identify examples of discretionary foods, classify foods into the correct food groups, build sentences together using the correct terminology. In the final stage of you do, the students independently categorize foods using correct vocabulary, write a sentence explaining food group importance, and use terms such as nutrients and servings in their writing task. The numeracy skill I've chosen to explicitly teach is the interpretation of portions and serving sizes in the food pyramid. Once again, referencing the 4 resources model, students develop as they are now being text users, applying numerical information from the pyramid to real-life meal planning. A key numeracy demand in health and nutrition is interpreting proportions, fractions, and serving sizes within dietary guidelines, as they understand that there's different serving sizes for different types of food. So, they will understand proportional food intake, recommended serving frequency, and relative quantities of different food groups. Students need to understand that the size and placement of sections communicates numerical relationships about healthy eating. For example, in the food pyramid, the vegetable section is the largest section because that makes up the most of the diet. Again, using the gradual release of responsibility, the teacher will teach how they can interpret the numeracy involved in the text. In the I do stage, the teacher explains half the diet should be vegetables, smaller proportions are allocated to other food groups, and discretionary foods are minimal. This links numerical reasoning directly to the health knowledge. In the we do stage, students work with the teacher and are guided to solve contextual problems, such as if a student needs 5 serves of vegetables per day and have already eaten 2, how many serves remain? In the final stage of you do, the students independently apply numeracy skills in designing a one-day meal plan, calculating remaining serves, and ensuring balanced proportions across food groups, as well as justifying choices using numerical evidence. Thank you for your time today. I'm really excited to start incorporating this into our lessons and seeing our students prosper. Thank you.